All right, nice American accent. All righty, I think we're good. All right, so please bear with me. I'm just going to share a screen with you. All right, well, thanks for joining us, guys. Obviously, we're covering today our recovery nutrition. Now, just something to note as well, when we do go to, we're talking about actual endurance nutrition or race or training nutrition, that is going to be a separate session. But what we're going to be covering today is why it's important, what we should be utilizing as part of our recovery nutrition, and when it's pivotal for to be able to actually have the have nutrition as well when our window is. So just got another couple of people that have just joined late, so just please bear with me. So guys, those that are just joining as well, can you just please make sure your microphone and your camera are off? So those that are joining, microphone and camera off. Alrighty, so the next screen. All right, so why we're looking at athlete nutrition as well and recovery nutrition. Our muscles generally have the ability to grow if we have the right sort of nutrition at the end of a session. Now, grow does not mean about getting swole or getting huge. It's actually about having about adapting and growing stronger and growing faster as well. It's also the ability to be able to recover better. So if we're recovering our session, it means that we're actually able to back it up and more likely to actually do another session either that afternoon or even the next day. It's also the ability to perform better, so making sure that we're actually getting the most out of our training. We're less likely to get sick with the right recovery nutrition as well. So recovery nutrition is really important, especially after big sessions and races as well. You can get sick up to 2 weeks after you've actually done your training or your race as well. One really awesome one is DOMS. Now, DOMS is the delayed onset of muscle soreness. This is the beautiful thing that happens usually the day after training, and you go to get out of bed and you're like, holy hell, I can barely walk. So recovery nutrition is really important for the prevention of DOMS, and it's more likely that you are going to get faster and stronger with the right nutrition. There's something that I've actually missed in here as well, and this is actually really, really important, and this is about the ability to lessen the likelihood of you becoming injured as well, which is another really important one, and also hormones as well. Now, if you're not doing your recovery nutrition correctly, and especially this happens with a lot of professional athletes that are doing a lot of training, hormones are thrown out of whack, women's cycles it's thrown out of whack, and also men's sex hormones as well. Now, if that ever does happen to any of our athletes, please let me know, and this is where we have to get a sports dietitian to actually step in and give us some assistance as well. So when we talk about recovery nutrition or recovery in general, we talk a lot about the 5 R's, and the reason why I've got the 5 R's there all combined together is it's about trying to be sort of a little bit more aggressive in your nutrition as well. So those 5 R's are, and I don't expect you to remember them, but a really good idea to take maybe a screenshot or a photo, is rehydrate, refuel, repair, revitalize, and rest. So we're going to go through each one of them. Some of them are a little easier than others to get your head around, but we'll have some question time afterwards as well. So we'll start on the first one. So rehydrate. So obviously when we're training, we're generally rehydrating on the way through while we're training or racing. But what we need to look for is signs of dehydration. Now, for those that are sort of doing sort of longer course training, you would often have notes in your program about weighing yourself before and after your training session. And the reason why we do that is it's a good way of picking up dehydration. But it's not always possible because, of course, as you go to work for the day, you eat, your body weight changes, you go to a training session in the afternoon, you might not know whether you were dehydrated by your weight. But, of course, the last time you went to the bathroom is important, and colour of urine, things like that as to whether you're dehydrated or not. So without a doubt, it's not going to hurt you to have a glass of water with your meal anyway. So if anything, it's actually going to help with your digestion. And there is a question there about, after your training session, do you need to be taking electrolytes? And the really quick and easy answer for that is 100% no, unless you're in trouble. And that meaning like you haven't had enough electrolytes while you're out there and you're needing sodium and you're needing sodium quickly. So as a general rule, we actually get electrolytes from our food, which we have in our cupboard in our fridge. So no, we do not need electrolytes. So rehydrate, pretty easy, glass of water when you come back and look for signs of dehydration. All right, the next one is refuel. Now, this is one of the more fun things to actually do. So when we become depleted of glycogen stores, now what glycogen stores are is they are is basically carbohydrate stores, is the easiest way to explain it. Now, generally when we'll come from a big training session or a big bike ride, majority of us come in and we feel like eating something, and it's usually carbohydrates. So that's a pretty easy one, but there's some times where you will not feel like eating. And there's those instances are either you've done what we've called as a bonk, which is you've gone out and you've gone to do some training and you haven't done your nutrition correctly, and you have ended up having too little carbohydrates when you're out there. And this is when you're out in the middle of nowhere. Normally you're up against a wall, you've got nothing left in the tank, you feel like you're actually riding into a headwind, and you're not, you've got nothing left. That is what we call a bonk. And when that happens, if you can just imagine like a bit of a fuel tank, when we keep our carbohydrate stores stocked up at the top, we only need little amounts of it and it stays topped up. When our glycogen stores fall down, and you imagine a tank is wider at the bottom, it takes a lot longer for that tank to fill up, okay? So when you come back, you'll actually feel sick, you won't feel like eating, and this is when you actually need to start force feeding yourself something, and you probably won't be feeling any better until about 4 or 5 hours later in some instances. And for those glycogen stores to completely fill back up again, it can take over 24 hours as well. So that's one instance where you might not feel like eating when you come back. The other one is some athletes who have not, who are basically stepping things up, or have not had a history or a long history of sort of endurance training. They'll might come back and they might feel the same thing. Oh, I can't even think of another thing to eat. I don't want to eat anything. It's going to take me an hour or two before I start getting my appetite back. But that is a perfect time where you do need to actually start very gradually, start actually force feeding yourself small amounts, because just like our muscles and our body, we are trainable, and so is our stomach, and our stomach needs to be trained to be able to absorb carbohydrate. So carbohydrate is the other one. We've got rehydrate so far, and we've also got refuel, which is our carbohydrate stores or glycogen. All right, so the next one is the really, really important one about recovery, and this is repair. Now, this is about amino acids. So what are amino acids? We've probably heard about these before, but they are literally like the building blocks of our body. You imagine these racing around our body, but what these building blocks help us to do is they help to break down the food, they help to make the muscles grow, and they also help to repair as well. There's lots of other things that amino acids do, but for an athlete's purpose, those are the most important ones. Now, you've got different kinds of aminos as well. So you've got essential amino acids, which I'll tell you a little bit more about in a moment, non-essential, and then conditional as well. So amino acids, that top group, basically from here, they are what are called essential amino acids. So when you go into a supplement store and they've got all these amino acids and they've got all these different codes next to them and you don't know what they mean, these are the amino acids that you need food to be able to produce these amino acids, the essential amino acids. The next group down here are your non-essential amino acids. That means that your body can actually produce those aminos. Now, there's 3 here that I've highlighted in red. Now, those 3 are what are called branch chain amino acids, which is BCAAs. Now, the reason why these are quite important is they've worked out that just those 3 together, they actually help produce protein synthesis, or encourage protein synthesis. So they're very, very important for building muscle and I suppose adaptation as well. So those are your aminos. So where do we get aminos from? Now, meat is obviously a very, very common one. Animal protein products, meaning like protein shakes, also eggs, vegan proteins. Vegan proteins come in the form of like brown rice protein and things like that, and legumes, and also amino acid supplements, meaning your BCAAs and things like that that you can buy from a supplement shop. So that's where they come from. The other R is revitalize. So this is actually starting to think a little bit more about how we can make a meal more nutritious. So we've already talked about obviously our carbohydrates and making sure we've got that, and we're talking about our proteins to make sure that we're getting amino acids. But this one here is about talking about making a meal healthier, making sure that it has some vitamins, and making sure that it has some color. So when I say it has some color, it's whenever you add anything, it's green or red or orange, generally it's something healthy, but unless you're putting cordial in it. But obviously you want something a little bit healthier in there. So as an example, maybe you were having some eggs, a poached egg on some whole grain toast. You might want to think about either having something like some wilted spinach with it, maybe half an avocado, a bit of salad, anything like that, but just try and think of actually putting some other things in there that are obviously going to be good for you. All right, the other one is another good one, an easy one, and this is rest. So the best thing you can actually possibly do after you've looked after your food nutrition is have a nap. Generally, your body obviously recovers really well when it's sleeping, making sure that we're getting enough general sleep at night time as well. Reason why we have recovery days and recovery phases in your program is also that gives your body time to rest before you go and do your next session so that you're fully recovered. After that, we have compressions as well. On a really big, heavy, hard training session, compression types, I have always found them beneficial. The jury's kind of out whether or not it's a placebo effect or not, but I'm sure that it worked for me. And then also massage and foam rolling as well. Now, in saying foam rolling, please do not go and do a hard session and try and like foam roll immediately afterwards. That is going to hurt. So just give yourself a little bit of time with that. This is super, super, super important. So alcohol after your training session actually blocks the protein synthesis that we're trying to achieve through good recovery nutrition. So not saying don't drink any alcohol, I'm not saying that, but being careful in how you have a drink and when you have a drink is, and obviously you want to get the most out of your training sessions. So just as a bit of an example as well, at the end of the 70.3 in Ironman, we do want to have a celebration during afterwards, but we generally don't get entirely drunk, but we always make sure that everyone's had something to eat first before they start thinking about having a beer or a glass of champagne. So same with after races and things like that. I know many years ago, when I was training down on the Gold Coast, we used to actually go to the pub for the prize giving, and everyone just used to drink there. And now thinking back at that now, it's probably not the best choices. All right, so now we're going to talk about when it's really important, now that we sort of know about what we should be having. So we've actually got a little thing called an anabolic window. So an anabolic window is about the amount of time that it takes for your peak enzymes, your recovery enzymes, and your hormones peak, which is generally within 45 minutes to 1 hour. But there's a little bit of a problem with this. You've got to actually have the food broken down into building blocks for that when that window occurs. So this is when our body, 45 minutes to 60 minutes, readily absorbs all the building blocks that you have broken down. So we need to try and be strategic in how we think about our recovery nutrition, because some things are going to break down faster than others. Like a steak is going to take a hell of a lot longer to break down than a smoothie. So tips and supplements. So when you think that they're appropriate. Now, when do I need to think about recovery nutrition? Is it for all training sessions? Now, and short answer for that is no, you don't need to think about recovery nutrition for training sessions. The recovery nutrition that you need to think about is for harder sessions and longer sessions, which is actually quite a good proportion of what we do. But if you're going out and you're doing a recovery cycle of 30 minutes or something like that, nothing too taxing, and it's recovery in itself, then no, you don't need to think about recovery nutrition. But if it's something really long, you're going out and riding 100 kilometers, absolutely. Anything that you think is taxing on your body, you need to think about your recovery nutrition. And it's all about planning for that as well. So we talked about before about the 45-minute window, 45 minutes to 60-minute window, which is when our bodies readily absorb. That time there, if you were going to go down to the running track after work and you were doing a run session and you did the run, and by the time you finish your run, we spend 10 minutes on stretching, you spend 20 minutes on driving home, and then you smell awful, you decide to get in the shower, have a quick shower, jump on out, our window is now closed. So I'm not saying it's closed as in we're not going to absorb anything, we are, but we've missed that optimal window. So this is where supplements can come into play as well. So we're going to talk about a little bit about these. So amino acids. So amino acids is what we were talking about before, which we can get from meats as well. These are great in the gym in a bottle of water. So these actually help repair our muscles as well. Generally, you need a very, very, very small amount, and it tastes a little bit like cordial. Now, these here are usually 99% natural as well. Usually that extra is usually a stabilizer or a flavor in there that's not natural with the 1%. So that's a really easy one. So these little letters that we talked about, don't remember what those are, but they are the essential amino acids that we talked about that we can get from food also. We have to get it from food. L-Glutamine. Now, this is my favorite supplement. I get so excited about L-Glutamine. So L-Glutamine is one amino acid on its own. It's incredible for delayed onset of muscle soreness. So it's super, super cheap. I think one of those little containers is about $20 and it generally will last you about 3 months. 100% natural. It starts working immediately. And just like the other aminos, it supports protein synthesis as well to help you recover and grow. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of the story about L-Glutamine. When I had a friend of mine come and stay at my house, she's a former Ironman pro. She was racing in the Cairns Ironman, the full Ironman, and I was planning what we were going to do in the days afterwards, and I said to her on the Monday, I said, we'll go and have a coffee or something like that after the race. And she said, I cannot leave the house till about Wednesday, Thursday. She goes, literally like I'm an old woman, I can't do anything but shuffle. And I asked her, have you ever tried L-Glutamine? And she never had. So as soon as she finished her race, I gave her a shaker with some L-Glutamine in it, and gave it to her again before she went to bed. And the next day she got up and she was literally like, where's the coffee shop? She'd never experienced anything like that after a hard race. And we sent her over to Canada, where she was next racing with a tub of L-Glutamine. But that's just one scenario of someone as a professional athlete. Yeah, magical stuff, super cheap. And that's my favorite supplement out of anything as far as, just trying to get rid of muscle soreness. So as I was saying before, usually half a teaspoon for someone that's a little bit of a smaller weight, straight after training. It has to be immediately after training. And then again at nighttime before you go to bed. So for me, I have these already made up in my protein shakers. Like I've actually got them all pre-made up just with the powders, but protein and L-Glutamine in there. And then I don't really have to think about it. But before bed and straight after training. If you're bigger, you're probably going to need a full teaspoon of it. But yeah. All right, talking about proteins, I don't know if you're anything like me, and over the years I've walked into a supplement shop and just literally gone, oh, what the hell? So you've got normal proteins. So you would see up there on the left-hand side, WPI. So what WPI is it's still just a protein, but it's gone through a little bit of a different process. WPIs have gone through the cheese making process, and they have now got a more pure substance. But through that process as well, not only is it pure, but it's almost lost its lactose content. So I think it's under 1 gram per 100 grams of lactose that's left in there. So it usually sits well with people's stomachs. It's got less fat in it as well. So that's why WPI is quite popular. So WPI also has like a 23 gram protein base, whereas just the normal whey proteins have around about 18. So slightly a little bit more on price, but that's what the difference is with just the standard protein. You've got mass building proteins. We're not going to touch those. We don't need that. You've also got collagen proteins, which is what that one is down the bottom there. No whey protein. Really good too for your skin, for also your hair and nails and things as well. It actually helps with connective tissues and obviously strength as well. So I usually have this personally with myself, just with oats in the morning. It's just it's a health choice for me for that one. And then you've got synthetic proteins. They are not something that I generally recommend. I have tried them before, and they are usually all tingly. They're not normally credited as safe as well. Like when I say safe, like as in if you were tested as an athlete. Low-fat proteins, generally, to be honest with you, a WPI is generally a low-fat protein anyway, but you can get caught up with all the hype of having L-carnitine in it or something like that, which is an amino acid that helps metabolize fat. You've got ones that are combined that have WPI protein and amino acids together. You've got vegan proteins, and then you've got slow-release proteins. Now, the one on the bottom right there, the casein custard, the slow-release proteins have colostrum in them. So they're known as being slower release. But the slow release ones are really, really, really yum. So they're a thicker consistency. They're almost like a custard, and you can actually make them up as a slightly thicker consistency. It literally tastes like a dessert. Like there's a banana one that I absolutely love. But yeah, as a general rule, you can get caught up with all this stuff. But generally, a WPI protein is what most people would be suited to. All right, so I've been with ASN for a very, very long time. They used to sponsor me as an athlete a long time ago, and they've looked after me for a long time. They are a mine of information. Now, we were meant to obviously have this in store. We were actually going to get the store manager to come and talk about all the supplements and everything. Unfortunately, just because of COVID, it's not safe. But these guys here, if you ever have any questions, please go in and see them. Talia is the store manager. She's absolutely lovely. Or you can go online and use the discount code TryMotivate as well on the online store. Now, when you go in the store also, if you tell them that you are with TryMotivate, you'll get a discount. Now, you don't have to keep on telling them that. They'll generally sign you up as a member, and then that discount will apply every time as well. Cool. So one thing to note as well, if you are an athlete who is trying out for the world champs, age group world champs or anything like that, and you may be tested, there is something that you need to be very mindful of. And that is anti-doping testing. So it can happen quite easily, but in supplements there can be cross-contamination. So it's not usually deliberate that there's a drug in there, but it might be that a pre-workout is literally made on the same premises as a protein, and there's just a little bit of cross-contamination there. So just a little bit something to be a little bit mindful of. So generally most people don't need to worry about that. But in saying that as well, I can almost guarantee that just about every pre-workout is probably not on the Sports Integrity app. So you can actually plug in the name there, and it'll tell you whether or not it's banned. There is a brand, Body Science and Sport, that generally have all their products tested as well. So, all right, so just planning is everything. It's the same as why you get a program. But one of the big things I can say is how to make things work in triathlon is planning. So, for instance, me personally, I'm a busy lady. I do not want to have to sit there every time I go to the gym or to go for a training session and open up every single bag of whatever it is and put a teaspoon of this and a teaspoon of that. Same with the food as well. I generally like to know that I've got planned out my nutrition. I know what I'm having, and it's in the fridge there ready to go, or I know in my head what I'm going to do when I get back. It's when things go pear-shaped is when you just fly by the seat of your pants. So meal prep is incredibly important, as well as, preparing those little things to make it a little bit easier. So when you go to the gym, you've got a shake already made up, and you've got multiple ones, so you can just grab one and go. For me as well, I've actually got my breakfast cereal in tiny little plastic containers. I've got oats, I've got collagen protein in there, I've got LSA mix, I've got good fats, I've thought about my amino acids in the collagen protein, and I've literally opened up one of those, throw it in a bowl, chuck it in the microwave, put some yogurt and some berries if I want to in it as well, stir it up, my breakfast. I've thought about that, I know what's in it, and I know that's going to prepare me well for the rest of the day, but also know that I am recovering well from my training session. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. So that's it, guys. So I'm just going to quickly run through those 5 again, just so that you've got it. So we've got rehydrate, refuel, which is carbohydrate, repair, which is our amino acids. It's revitalize, it's thinking about vitamins and nutrients, and we're thinking about rest. So I hope that all helped. Now, if anyone wants to turn their mics on and ask any questions, by all means. Anyone got any questions? Sorry for my cat screaming in the background. All right.
Great questions for me. I just wanted to just give you just a thank you. That was
cool.
really informative and very thorough. So yeah, it was really good as well to break it down, because I'd literally just actually bought more protein powder and BCAAs and electrolytes earlier on this week. So it's really good just to be able to look out for those different things in advance.
Oh, good. Thanks, Leslie. Appreciate it. Thank you. Anyone else got any questions? All right.
Renee, when sorry, it's Deb here.
Hey.
When you have that screen up with all the proteins on it, what's the one on the top right-hand side? Is that a mixture one?
Yeah, it's a mixture one. So that one has actually got amino acids in it as well. So you're talking about this one here, the orange one?
Yeah, the orange one, yeah.
Yeah, so so that's got BCAA, so remember our branch chain amino acids in it. And it's also got L-Glutamine in it. So you hear about me talking about L-Glutamine, but it's it's just got some extra added bits and pieces in it. And I think you can literally, I look forward to the day when you can get customized supplements. I reckon that'll be just bee's knees. But I generally like to try and keep things simple, because I personally would be more inclined to actually have a separate thing, L-Glutamine, and a separate thing of WPI, so that and a separate branch chain amino acids, so that when I'm at the gym I can use that. I don't want to be necessarily having a protein or WPI, a milky type substance when I'm in the gym. So it's not, unfortunately, it's not the case that you can get one product and then that'll do everything, because it just doesn't suit, to have milky drinks when you're training. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you, Renee.
That's all right. Anyone else have any questions?
Well, sorry, just me again. Do you have any recommendations for like the dairy-free ones?
Okay, that's actually a really good question. So the no whey ones are dairy-free, like the collagen proteins. They are a little bit easier for people to tolerate, because I personally have a vegan protein, but only because all the other WPIs, they've generally got a very, very small amount of soy in them, and I can't have that. So I have a vegan protein, which is a pea-type protein. But whenever I've given people a taste of it, they've literally screwed their face up and thought it was the most disgusting thing ever. It's like quite a chalky sort of a texture. But if you throw like half a banana in or something like that, maybe it's a bit more palatable. But you would be able to, for non-dairy, you would either get a vegan protein, a collagen protein, or a synthetic protein, which is like more of a cordial than anything else.
Okay, thank you.
That's all right.
Renee, I do have one quick question. You mentioned with the L-glutamine to have it afterwards. In the past, so I don't know if this is right or wrong, I've sometimes put a bit in my bottle with electrolytes while I'm riding. So should you keep that separate and only have it after?
It certainly won't do any harm. Yeah, it's 100% natural. If your body doesn't need it, it won't use it. So it's not going to do any harm. So yeah.
Thank you.
It's all right. Anyone else? Got some chats here. I'm just going to check. Oh yeah, everyone's just saying thank you. All good. Well, thank you guys. So I think that's going to conclude our session. Now, we did just record it, so if you do want to refer back to it, please just send me a message and I'll send you the link. That's really easy. But yeah, and we'll very soon be doing the session on get race ready, which is a lot longer session. This is when we're actually going to go through how to prepare for an endurance event, about your actual nutrition when you're training as well. But this is a fairly short and easy one to sort of get over the line. So the first one to get your head around, in about 2 weeks, we'll do the get race ready session. So keep your eye out for that. We'll be doing it all over again. All right, thanks guys. I'll see a lot of people hopefully tomorrow for our ride. Thanks, Leslie. Thanks, Deb, Jeff.
Thanks, Renee.
All right, thanks guys.
Bye.